All right, so I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to retouch this photo using AI plugins inside of Photoshop. So I've actually been trying to do this video and Clipchamp has decided to fail on me for like the past 3 times. So I'm now using a different recorder and let's see. So the first thing I'd like us to do is to do our color grading. And in our color grading, I like to come to this particular panel and do these things individually. The first thing I'd like to work on is on the shadows and just crank up the saturation just a bit so to see what I am working on. Then I change the hue to fit the direction I'm going for. So in this sense, I'd want my shadows to be somewhere around here. Okay, I think I like this. So I'd want my shadows to be here, and then I change the saturation to somewhere about 15. Okay, so to work on the midtones, so shadows just mean the dark areas of our image. And then the midtones is going to be a blend between the shadows and the highlights. And then the highlights are actually going to be the bright areas of our image. So right here, we come and adjust the saturation again just to see which parts of the image are actually being um, worked on in this sense. So I'd take it to somewhere 30 again and adjust the hue. I think I'd go for this kind of look and slightly bring this down once again. So we have our before and current settings. I'd want to reduce this again just a bit. Yeah. So now onto our highlights. And also change this for the look I'm going for. So I want to go for, yeah, a bit of blues in the highlights. So before, and after. Okay. So these are current settings. That's what I'd like to go for. The other thing that I'd like to mention is if you want your subject to stand out from the background, one thing to do is to mask. When you're in your camera raw panel, you come here and then you select your background. And when you select the background, you just want to do a couple of changes, a couple of adjustments to the lights, just so as to make your model pop out and then the background be in the background as it's supposed to be. Okay. So you allow Photoshop to actually do its thing. It uses AI to actually analyze the background and selects it for you. And it does a pretty accurate selection. So you don't have to do too much masking once that is done. Usually doesn't take this long. I don't know why, but maybe my PC is running low on RAM, something of that sort. Okay, so this is the background selected. And as you can see, it's done a really good selection of the background. So what I like to do is to decrease the exposure, maybe by 0.1 of the background. As you can see, it's only affecting the background changes because the background is here selected. Then I'd want to take the highlights down to usually about half. So somewhat 50 and crank up the shadows just a bit. So as you can see, we have our before and the after. Before and the after. And this image is looking more according to what I want it to look like. All right. So we'll be working with this image. And like I said, we're going to teach you how to retouch using certain AI plugins. So the AI plugin we're actually going to be using for this particular image is the Retouch for Me plugin. Okay. And for those of you who don't know what Retouch for Me is, it's an AI-based plugin that you can actually bring into Photoshop to help you with your workflow. So if I'm going to post this picture on Instagram, I would want to crop it, but I'm actually not posting on Instagram, so I'd leave it there. I usually crop to 4:5 when I'm using Instagram. So this is our image. And we duplicate the background, then we start working. So let me delete this. Control J to duplicate, and I begin to work. So here, I'll find my retouch for me filter down here. So retouch for me. And the first thing I'd like to do is to heal this particular model. So when you see heal in retouch for me, it just means to remove the blemishes. Okay. So let's come to our model. And as we can see on the face, there's a bit of blemish around this area, also some blemishes around this, and we want to remove them. So let's see what AI can actually do in helping us remove this blemish. So retouch for me, let's go to heal. So we wait a bit and it delivers the results. All right. So to zoom in, you can actually use the scroll on your mouse, or you can use these buttons right here. I like to use the scroll of the mouse. So as you can see, this is our original, and this is with retouch for me healing. As you can see, it's left just a bit of blemish around here and here, which are easily fixable. If you want a completely retouched, if you want a completely removed blemish look, you can easily fix these with your clone stamp tool. But I'm actually happy with this, so I'll click apply. And also, you could have easily increased that inside of retouch for me, or you can just come back and then re-heal this layer. It will do another heal, but I'm okay with this. So the next thing I'd like to do is the skin tones here are not uniform. So I'd like the AI-based plugin to actually pick a mid skin tone and then apply it on this image. So you can do this on the same layer, or you could want to duplicate your layer if you want to keep settings for each of them. Filter, retouch for me, and skin tone. So you'd also have to wait a bit, and this actually uses up majority of your RAM. So just wait a bit and see what results it delivers. For the system requirements, it requires at least 4 GB of random access memory. So if you have more than 4 GB of random access memory, you should be good to go in terms of RAM. All right. So let's look at our preview. And this is our original. Let me zoom out so you can see the entire thing. So original, very subtle changes, but as we can see here, it's applied a bit of rosiness to our model's face. So original, and I actually like this. So let's click apply. All right. As you can see, the highlights and the contours are not, in my opinion, are not so um, pronounced. The highlights are more pronounced than the contours in this sense, so they're not quite blending well. So one thing I'd like to do is I go to filter, again, photo toolbox, retouch for me, sorry, and click portrait volumes. So portrait volumes is more like a macro dodge and bend. For those of you who do dodge and bend, this is more like a macro dodge and bend, and it's actually going to help you dodge and bend this image. So we just wait for it. Okay, and there we go. So original, and you can see that it's actually added more structure to the model's face. Okay, it's done quite a good job. if you want to increase this, if you actually feel like this dodge and bend is actually not enough for you and you want to crank it all the way up. So let's look at it at 200. And this is a lot of dodging and bending that has actually been done. You can see how intense this is, but I'd like to bring it back to somewhere 115, okay? Mhm. So to actually view the mask, you can just preview and then see. It's actually worked on a good couple of areas. These are highlights, not me saying highlights. These are highlights, highlights, highlights. All these areas have been dodged and these areas have been burned, as you can see in blue. So if you like what you see, you hit apply. All right. So dodge and burn has been done. And if you actually want to do micro dodge and burn, which in my opinion, this image doesn't really need, you can come to retouch for me and click dodge and bend right here. Okay, so this dodge and bend action is for micro dodge and bend, while this portrait volume is for macro dodge and bend. So when we're looking at this image, there's one thing I'd like to work on, and it's going to be the texture of the skin. Okay, the skin, I want it a bit soft and I'd want it to look more like a fashion or a beauty shop. So I'm actually going to use a different tool for this. So this is not within retouch for me. I come to photo toolbox and I use the skin finder. Okay. So let's see what skin finder can do. Wow. So skin finder selects your skin and actually does its thing with the skin. So you can come here and choose what you want depending on the model skin. They have one that actually does a deep contrast between highlights and the shadows. There's also one that actually prioritizes a lighter skin tone, but for this sense, I just use the default one. So let me just show you some of them. This is with lightning. It's a bit of a lighter skin tone for model, and this is on very high smoothing, medium smoothing, and then this is a contrasted look. But I think I prefer the default look. Okay, so let's zoom in and see what it has actually done with the skin. So let's show before. And as you can see, the skin is smoother. There are easy transitions between each of the pixels, as you can see. And yeah, I like this better. You can always come here and then adjust these things. If you want to make a bit of a blend between the previous image and then the final touch, you could always come to skin details and work with the balance slider. Currently, I like this, so I'm just going to click OK. All right. So the next thing I'd want us to work on is our model's eyes. Okay. As we can see, we have some red veins in the model's eyes, red veins here and red veins here. What I'd like us to do is to remove those. And for this, I'm going to use the Beauty Retouch version 2.3 from Retouching Academy. If you actually want to download this, I think there's a newer version. If you want to download this, you can go to retouchingacademy.com and actually purchase this from their site. All right. So what we're going to be using for this particular one is the Magic Eyes. Okay. So with Magic Eyes, what Retouching Academy actually does is that they give you a bunch of actions and they would actually play on your layer style. So if you know how to retouch, you should know what to do because it's actually usually clear cut. So here, when you open this, it says clean eyes here. And that's what I want to do. So I want to clean my eyes, not my eyes, our model's eyes. And this layer is actually black. This layer mask is black. So to review, we switch our foreground color to white. Okay. I usually use X to switch. which should also be the default on your keyboard. Or you can click here and set the colors for the background and foreground colors, or just hit this particular arrow here to switch. All right. So I'm going to paint on the areas of the eye where I want to make white. I want to remove the dark things. So just make sure you zoom in, do a clean paint, okay? Opacity currently set to 71. I'm going to set it to 100. All right. Um, and with this eye, and on to the next one. On to the next one. Give me ginger. Okay. So as you can see, we've done a good job with whitening the eyes of our model right here. If you feel like this is too much, you can always play with the opacity slider. I'm just showing you how to use the tools. So I'll keep it somewhere around 65. Looks, yeah, looks good. So I'll show you the progress we've made so far. Let me create a stamp visible layer. To create a stamp visible layer, you use Shift, Control, Alt, and E. Okay. So it literally just merges all your layers up to the top. And I want to show you guys the before and after of what we've done. So this is going to be a before, and after. Okay. And one thing I'd like to do after this is to decrease the highlights in this image. So I want to go to filter, camera raw filter, and decrease the overall highlights of this particular image because the image looks very highlighted to me, in my opinion. So I want to decrease the highlights somewhere by negative, yeah, negative 34 looks quite good. So before and after, before and after. All right. So we've moved that particular image from just having a basic, nice shot into this more dramatic, more looks like we're going to use her for makeup ad or something of that sort. She's going to be in a beauty store for cosmetic products. But yeah, this is how to retouch using these particular plugins. And I hope you actually liked the video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe to the channel because there's more tools I actually want to show you guys how to use to speed up your workflow. And you can leave comments in the comment section if you have any questions. Thank you for staying. I'll see you guys in the next video.